one. I think we'll go ahead and get started. People can kind of join as time goes on here, but I think I see a couple people I was expecting. So I think we're good to get started here. With that, I'll go ahead and welcome to the 11th installment of the I Think I Can't Speak for Everyone Here reading series. This is a reading series for writers, people who have written, are writing, or who I think should be writing. Though poetry is my way of leading nothingness kind of back to where it pretended to be from, this is a writer's space. So vignettes, silences, short stories, songs, poems, excerpts from novels and stories, basically anything from that part of you that writes down the world. It's kind of your space, and that's what this is kind of meant for. Whether reading or not, you can turn your camera off. Keep it consistent, with your comfort level. Please keep the audio off while people are reading. If there's something I need to know or I'm not seeing, you can definitely drop it in the chat or unmute yourself and let me know. You can direct message me on the chat to sign up for the open mic after the featured readers. Just write your name and any pronunciation notes in there, and I'll make sure I'll get to you. Afterward, if you have any questions, requests, comments, whatever, you can direct those to bluejawedsnake@gmail.com. I'll go ahead and put that in the chat. Afterward, readings, and afterward also readings will be on the YouTube channel in about an hour. So you can always check them out there, and I'll share those with everybody as well. With that, I'd like to introduce our featured reader. Adedayo Agarau is a Wallace Stegner Fellow at Stanford University and a Canem Fellow. His works have won or have been finalists for the 2024 Wales International Poetry Prize, 2024 Alpine International Poetry Prize, 2022 Brunel Poetry Prize, and the 2023 Sillerman First Book Prize. He is the editor-in-chief of Agbowó magazine, a journal of African literature and art, and a poetry reviews editor for the Rumpus. He is the author of the chapbooks Origin of Names from African Poetry Book Fund 2020, The Arrival of Rain, Vegetarian Alcoholic Press 2020. Shout out to Vegetarian Alcoholic Press. They're an awesome press. You should check them out. And also for The Boys Who Went from Authorpedia 2016. Adedayo's debut collection, The Years of Blood, won the Poetic Justice Institute Editor's Prize for BIPOC writers and will be published by Fordham University Press in the fall of 2025. I came to Adedayo's work basically through an online journal that I used to edit and curate called Acoustic. What I love about his work is how it goes about closing the hole, there is in joy. Image, mantra, they both make their heavy way into the light, and there's no real erasure nor painting over, really. It's an illustrative longing that gives aftermath. It's 15 minutes of infamy, but then moves on into the kind of now life of our way forward. And with that, I'm excited to give Adedayo the spotlight. And
thank you so much, Batson. I really appreciate it. That was such a very cool introduction. I appreciate it. And thank you to everyone who's tuned in to listen to me read. Yeah, so just because of how special this is for me, I decided I was gonna read from my forthcoming collection. So it's since this is actually a very intimate space, I'm gonna just share some poems that I've not exactly published and are in that body of work. A little bit about the Years of Blood. It's a collection of poems that I sort of wrote and created to actually revisit the constant kidnapping that happens in Nigeria, which is either politically influenced or is influenced by the idea of ritualism and spiritualism. So it's definitely a very heavy, very close to art collection that sort of is situated on the street that I was born in, where a couple of children were kidnapped. I also was kidnapped, but luckily for me, I was found. But yeah, it's just that collection that is it's a little bit gory. So this is the content warning. but it sort of like directly accounts for the horror of people who actually had kidnapped. So yeah, I would start with a poem titled Soka. Soka is a small place in Ibadan where I grew up. Ibadan is the largest city in West Africa. Yeah, so Soka. In the forest of Oro, a machete cutting deep through the bones of a child is someone else's answer prayer. They found dried bones of people's children, a heap of old clothes, the rustiness of knives gleaming in the small light leaning in through, the cracked in the unplastered walls of the forest. A lizard swallows an insect and nods in satisfaction. It must have seen the way bodies satisfy these cannibals. God somewhere withering in his envelope of silence, following a cry for help, the echo they reported, ghastly, ghostly, like a drought arriving after the exit of rain. In the corner, a ridge of brown shirts and baby diapers sit beside a dying woman, school uniforms and bags and plastic bottles and sandals, and a man whose wife does not recognize the frame of his body, and a girl, 14, teen, with only homesickness breastfeeding a child in another room. They found fellows, latitude of suffering, tendons of drones cooked in calabashes, doves, feathers, headless pigeons, rat intestines, blood in plastic bags, heads of different sizes, the bodies laying lifeless in their shrine. On the news, the reporter said one of the men who found the forest said, people whose gods did not forsake them were hacked with cutlasses. Yeah. So the title of this next poem is Ibadan. It's one of the first poems that I actually ever wrote in this collection. I wrote the poem on the plane as I left Nigeria to start my MFA at the Iowa Writers Workshop. So it was literally the first poem that I finished when I got to America. So I'm very lucky to have had it published at World Literature Today. So yeah, Ibadan. Everywhere weed grows is a wild mouth eating children. There are flowers you can touch. Outside someone's house at night, a mother pounds the head of a newborn. At first, it is music, then the silence of crickets. We gather dust, sand, murals, wild flowers, worn sandals, iron cast Ibadan over dreams. We collect the first fruits, once older women snatch from us in sacred rooms, fried in sin. My auntie's husband sacrifices Afro riches. The shade of shadows stands still in his courtyard. We no longer go to their house, no longer eat their food, the ones my cousins bring in baskets covered with towels. I kick a frog out of my slippers, put saliva on my wound, leave for school the morning I was kidnapped. And when they found me, I was standing by a NEPA pole, insensible. The window of grief that opened in my family shut itself and opened in a house down the street. Children began to die. Then we could no longer go to the field at dusk to run and sing and dance and call someone a juju and watch them cry and sing them shaka, shaka, shoo, shoo. Everywhere weed grows is a wild mouth eating children. I dream that someone carves out my friend's eye from its cavity, and the next day is lost forever. What do not know about living, what do I not know about living that held the hands that snatched me? We gather dust for bodies that never make it home, pray over bodiless graves, wash our hands in the river down the road, and lock ourselves in. Yeah, once again, I'm very grateful that you guys are here to listen to the read poems. Yeah, I'm gonna read this poem that I wrote about boys. Uh, yeah, the title of this one is Boys That Never Die. It's one of my favorite poems in the collection. I love it because it's different from what I naturally write, and it's sort of like means so much to me, and it's fun to listen to. Yeah. So this is after Safia Ilo's Girls That Never Die. Boys That Never Die. Boys that dance around plastic chairs in front of the barber's shop to win a free haircut. Boys that gaze at the moon and fabricate a story about the man who left his mother and turned into a moon man. Boys that love their mothers, run after cows on Oguleye Street. When ice cream melts and slings down the ham, boys lick their arms. Corn boys, yam boys, boys that never joke with food, boys that show us new shoes their fathers got them. Joyous boys, laughing like the sea, boys that call me friend, boys that buy me sweet, goody goody, Quadri, Olusoji, Adams, Ogunkoya, Said Akpari, Penka, Ayomide, Ademola, Oluwatosin, Mido, Shegun, Oladeji, Kayode Karim, Adewusi Seyi, Bukola, Olatunji, Olushola, Damilola, James, Tola, Daramola, Taufik, Ibrahim, boys puzzled by God's grace, boys that open their eyes during prayers, boys in love with the same girls, boys fighting over girls, boys without flowers, boys with flowers, boys that love boys, boys that love boys that love boys, boys that hide, boys that seek, boys jumping thin lines of life playing suey, snake and ladder boys, boys watching their fathers play draft, paraga boys, boys that like the smell of cigarette but swear they'll never smoke, boys that feel ground chalk in roll paper and puff, boys in the kitchen filled with smoke, boys that carry scars from playgrounds, boys that carry scars their fathers give them, boys that don't listen, boys that listen, boys that revolt, boys that live on, boys that will never be absent like their fathers, boys who watch their fathers at bars down the street, boys that search for their fathers in the dark, hungry boys, dreamy boys, boys that teach boys how to wank, boys kissed by older women, boys kissed by young women, boys the hope of a Canem, always changing, Saturday special boys, boys dancing to Ebenezer Obey, Tom and Jerry boys, Saturday special on DCOS, worldwide wrestling with Shawn Michaels, Tinkle Tinkle boys, boys that love bright colors. I wear yellow and you wear sky blue, little stars dotting the sky, noisy boys, boys that kiss girls, boys that love God and go to church in their best shoes, home boys, street boys, boys that leave home for school one morning, their corrupted bodies later a small farm days after. Ooh. So this is the last poem I'm gonna read. It's titled Wishbone. Yeah, her Wishbone. The entrance of light steered into that room gathers in it a cavity of dust. They sit, all of them, before the photographer who is adjusting aperture, the neck of focus. A woman, the mother, in a yellow dry lace and orange damask gele, is at the epicenter. Our husband, someone's father, drizzles a smile upon the field of his face He holds the woman, his wife, and they hold their children. One of them is a boy in whose eyes a rainbow is knifed into a slice of lemon, in whose body is a masquerade, dancing dust into years of memory. The camera shot as the man hangs. His dress, purple in the first take, ashes. The woman occupies a space that he leaves, and the children sit beside their mother, the woman. Now, the boy starts a song, fills his mouth with a stash of flowers, briefly lending his throat the audacity of gratitude. The ash remains of what the fire left when it caught the man, the father, out of the photo. The light takes itself, and in the loom of darkness, someone's child is calling for help. And someone's mother is clutching space in search of her children. A reckoning begins from the leg of a girl, the mother's daughter, the boy's sister, who morphs into a stone, and from her wrist, a bouquet emerges. And in the darkness that has fallen upon the stage, you could hear the grief loud as it thought of a bird, its wishbone broken into tiny stars splattered across the hazy sky. On the night, the field of millet catches fire. On the night, Shulalu Girioku harvests with flames in his mouth. I have watched this play over and over, pull the wishbone out of the bones of wishes, and said, I want my father to be here to see the darkness is fetched by the disappearance of light. I have tendered mercies towards the door and forgiven the knob's twist. I have forgiven the photos and the memories of still, the evening baked in silence and the gatherers of grief. I have forgiven deities and mothers whose hands are soaked in my sister's blood, whose teeth are stuck in her neck. I have forgiven the shadow of darkness and the eaves of bones. The bed is always falling out of sky. I wake from the dream where my father kneels before the gods of doors, before the window sills and the effigies of parting, the dried bones of my sister's absence ache. Thank you very much, guys.
Sorry, I forgot to unmute myself there. Thank you so much, Adedayo. That was an amazing reading. That the last one, yeah, I'm really working through that one. Thank you so much. I think sometimes language wants to be touch, right? So it creates this button that invites touch. So I thank you for your language and for your touch, and thank you so much for saying yes and for reading today. With that, didn't really have anybody for the open mic that that showed up that said they wanted to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and read uh, a poem for the open mic, and then we'll go ahead and get out of here. But I'm going to be reading a poem from Kay Ivers' collection, a short film starring my beloved's Red Bronco. The title of the poem is Short Film Starring My Beloved's Living Body. Open with the 2-lane highway, the ice truck in the ice, your elbow resting on the driver's side window. Zoom in on the toned forearm, the goldenrod rushing by. Missy, our audience can see you now. Show them the gas station delivery where a drunk lady screams about your good looks because there's no original way to say a man is beautiful and the lady really did scream. Our audience will believe us and they won't. They'll say people this lovely are only in films. No one with lips this pillowy needs to deliver ice. And here you are lifting bags and saving up for a weekend in Memphis at the Motel 6. There's no time for dialogue about class or gender. No room to signal that your time with goldenrod is limited. Your time awake is limited. Look how awake you are, how the facial bones move with the perfect alignment under the dermis. Cut to the motel, leaving its light on for your red Bronco. Now the motel's dark interior. Now the bed nearest the window where you and a just out of high school date can finally make contact after years of parentally imposed silence. I'm sorry, this film can't access your interior. Your date is the only one directing her memory. Your date is me. My memory is the shower scene already zoomed in on your face. Open your eyes again. Look directly at me. Hold the camera's gaze through the falling water as if this were our last frame. Missy, this is our last frame. Body is the only good word for body. I'm afraid of home's hunger for yours, but off camera, the interstate is waiting, and my lines are let's go. Anyway, definitely check out all work by Kay Ivor. Seek out work by Adedayo Agarau as well. Thanks all for being here today, and I'll go ahead and let everyone get out here. Again, the reading will be on YouTube in about an hour. And yeah, watch this space for our future readings. We have a bunch coming up in September as well. With that, thanks again for everyone for being here, and I'll go ahead and let everyone get out of here.